Yep. To call this meeting to order, please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good afternoon, everybody. All right. Any persons wishing to address the board? Thanks, Vicki. Can I get an approval of the minutes of a meeting on November 1st, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, can I get an approval of the agenda, please? So moved. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. I did not see any conflicts of interest this month. And can I get an approval of the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, on to the reports of the president, which I understand Mr. Briggs is not joining us today, but we've got the rest of you, I know we're in capable hands.
Correct, he had some emergency dental procedure.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
tried to make it okay.
I'm sure he'd rather be here than there, but.
President Parker, members of the board, good day. Craig Peters, Director of Academics at Southeast Tech. It is my pleasure to introduce our Southeast Tech. This is our story. Today we have some of our most qualified faculty. We have our architectural program with a registered architect, and we also have our construction management program with a professional engineer. So I'm going to introduce Mr. Schlepp and Mrs. Gumble.
Thank you, Dr. Peters. Thank you very much, President Parker. Last time I saw you, we were in Chicago together working at the HLC. Board members and distinguished guests, welcome. My name is Jeff Schlepp. I've been, actually, I did this presentation back in 1984 when Dr. Harris, John Harris was still here. And it's been a little bit long time, and the technology has changed quite a bit. I've lost a lot of hair and I've gained a lot of weight. So I'm glad to be back here.
Has the presentation changed?
I'm sorry?
Has the presentation changed?
Presentation is staying exactly the same. Actually, we had little, like a PowerPoint, not a PowerPoint, but screenshots, where you had to reflect it onto the wall. So it was kind of fun. In any event, I'm also gonna now introduce Mrs. Gunvalson. She's going to talk to you about herself as well, where she's from.
Well, yes, my name is Kristen Gummelson, and about 9 years ago, the construction management program started at Southeast Tech. It's a 2-year AAS degree, and before that, we just had architectural engineering, civil engineering, and mechanical engineering as our engineering departments. So construction management began, there was a need for that, and it fit into the engineering technology programs. And so my past, I spent 7 years in the industry as a professional engineer working for a civil infrastructure company, and came aboard and enjoyed instilling that passion of the actual construction field and getting out there and seeing the projects get built. So we'll run through our programs and talk a little bit about how they can tie together. Jeff's the architect and he does the design work. As an engineer, I've done design work too. And then the construction management side sees that project go through.
Now, we work together even though our schools, you can see we were competition, NDSU against SDSU. The program that is set up where the students would be coming into actually a board drawing class. So my advisory members have really, I've always asked them every time we have a meeting, is it time to get rid of the boards, quit drawing on the boards? And they say, no, we need to keep that board drawing going on. But they've now informed me just recently that The primary AutoCAD software that we've been using for 20 years has now become obsolete, so they're thinking that we need to get rid of that and focus primarily with Revit, which is a newer software that you probably can see some of the drawings that you have in front of you, that you have a packet. Those have drawings of our students' projects. It's their capstone projects. Through 2 years of education, they come up with a lot of graphics, a lot of drawings of commercial and residential buildings, and this is kind of their capstone project. So it's always easier to have you see the final result of what they have done throughout the entire year. I'm not going to bore you with all the classes that they have to take, but you can see in front of you the result of all those classes that they do take. They also, of course, not only do drawings of buildings, but they have to understand the system, the mechanical system, HVAC, lighting, plumbing, to make sure that the people inside the building are comfortable. They need to understand how to size panels, how to size the furnace system, how to size the plumbing system throughout the entire, both commercial and residential. Mrs. Gunvalson teaches estimating to both my students and her students. So you want to talk a little bit about estimating?
Well, in the estimating program, I also teach civil students, and so it's a very broad class, but we go into details on basically how to run spreadsheets and make it more easily adapt to whatever company that they would go to work for, that they would be able to adapt to their software in bidding and estimating on projects. Because it's so different as being the design, the engineering technician working on an estimate, if they're working on a preliminary estimate, or if they're a contractor bidding on a job. So we come from all different aspects.
Green Building Techniques is a new class that we added, I'd say about 5 years ago, and it deals with sustainability, leadership in energy and environmental design, reuse, reduce, and what's the last one? Recycle. Thanks very much, Dr. Peters. These, again, are very similar projects that you have in front of you using the Revit software, Autodesk. We also teach statics. Mrs. Gunvalson teaches the statics part of it, and I teach the strengths and materials. And as you can see, it's very important that the students understand structure and coming into buildings, why it's important that they are safe, not only buildings, but roads, bridges, whatever it might be. So they have to, there's a lot of math involved in our industry. Even though it's a 2-year associate applied science, they get just as much math in that 2 years as a lot of the college students get, because my classes and Mrs. Gunvalson's classes are set up to match what they teach at the university level. Some of the required education classes, of course, they need to have their English comp, technical writing, speech, psychology, social issues, algebra, trigonometry, and computer essentials. Opportunities. When I first started teaching back in 1981, I did not have one student work for an architectural firm for the first 3 years that I was teaching. It was the 4th year I finally got one of my students working for an architectural firm. That firm was Resby Hartman Associates, which actually did the buildings out at Southeast Tech, the very first one and the second one. They actually hired 2 of my students after hiring the first one, and I was very proud of them. That student, Lanny Oringer, opened up his own company I'd say 10 years after, or 12 years after he had worked for that firm, and now he's actually retired. So I have students who go through the whole process, become registered architects, and now retired. I'm still teaching until the year 2020. Don't ask me how that happens, but it happens. We also have students working not only for architectural firms, but mechanical, electrical, structural, residential building contractors, commercial building contractors, interior design firms. I think there's every architectural firm, engineering firm in the city of Sioux Falls has right now or had hired a past student of mine. So I'm really proud of that as well. Ms. Gunvalson can say the same thing about her students. pretty much are all over both the commercial side as well as residential side of things.
And then I always try to push the highway heavy side because that's my background. And I've even worked on some of the projects on the interstate. And it's just fabulous to see my graduate students who thought they would never get out of the warehouse management. And here they are working on a roadway. So the opportunities are just great to see the projects get built and followed through.
My students are primarily in the class, or I should say, in the office, whereas Mrs. Gunvalson's are a little bit in the office, but mostly outside. So we actually have a dual combined class in which the students can come out after 3 years of education with 2 degrees, both the the construction management as well as architectural engineering. Again, these are just projects that my students have worked on in the past and continue to work on. In fact, I have someone in charge of my classroom at this time because my students are in their finals week and still working on and finishing up the projects. So I'll be leaving and going back to work. This is some of the field trips that construction management, they like I say, they go outside quite a bit and check on a lot of projects, and they are OSHA certified, OSHA 10.
30 hours.
Oh, okay, OSHA 30 certified.
Yeah, so as far as our classroom goes, we don't have a carpentry lab, and that's a big misconception of our program. It's not carpentry. It's not about using the tools. It's about managing a job. And he briefly touched on the gen ed courses, and I got some feedback from my advisory board and also some job site superintendents who give us these field trips and tours to actually see what's going on at the job site. And he said, psychology is one of the most important classes because you're not just managing the construction project, you're managing the people and really treating them as you would want to be treated. We talk a lot about productivity levels and getting the job done. Quality and balancing that quality with our schedule. We do a lot of construction planning and also the estimating, making sure it comes in under budget. So that's very critical. But yeah, we're mostly in the classroom for the 3 years, or the 3 semesters. And if you are interested and you want to see more of our curriculum, the 4th and final semester that they're in the program, that's when they go out on a practicum. And it's a 8-week course where they're not even on campus. They're out on the job site learning from one of our industry professionals and just learning the skills on the job. And they say they always learn more there anyway.
One other thing that we try to do on the architectural side of things is we bring in live projects when appropriate, and they normally are for nonprofit organizations. So we've done a lot of church additions, anything in which we can help out those nonprofits. This fall, we just did a project down in Vermillion where there's a church that came to us, asked us if they could have us drop the design for their new addition. And as a registered architect, I feel comfortable working with my students and accomplishing that. It gives them good hands-on ability, plus they get to work with the committees and speak with them using their speaking skills and their decision-making skills. So that's, again, priceless education right there. My students are heavily involved in the Home Builder Association here in Sioux Falls. We get involved in the Sioux Empire Home Show. We get involved with the Habitat for Humanity. We get involved with the Parade of Homes. We have an organization. We meet every month for an hour, and we have president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and they run the meeting. We have speakers come in, and then we apply for grants, and the National Home Builder Association has, again, granted us some money, and then the local matches that so that we can go to either Orlando or Las Vegas, wherever the International Builder Show is at. And that's, again, very good experience for the students. And again, as I said before, the home show, Lumbermen's Convention, we get involved in that as well. So the students are very, very involved in the community as well as in the classroom. And this is just the final one here, just showing that here they are at Jumpstart, working on a little project that they have to work as a team, and then they work as team members throughout the whole 2 years that they're there, and then we're very happy to see them graduate and continue on in their life. Any questions?
So how many average students in each of your programs?
Usually I start out somewhere around 24, and I graduate somewhere around 16.
And can you join any semester? Like, you could join in the spring?
You can actually join any semester. It's kind of a domino effect, the way my program is set up. So if you do come in the spring, you're pretty much taking general education classes, so that the load in the next 2 years are going to be less. And that just happened. I just had a student come in, non-traditional student, and he's trying to work full-time as well as trying to go back to school. And so I said, hey, this works out perfectly. We're going to spread this out in 5 semesters so that you can just take a little bit. You're still a full-time student because they've got 12 credits, and then we're just going to put you through and do it easily instead of trying to get through it once. And it works out very nice, yes.
Thank you.
We normally have 100% placement, and we hope to continue that placement with the economy as strong it is right now in the construction industry. We should have no problem staying that way for the next, well, until I retire, at least. Or if I get fired between them. Any other questions?
Looking at your picture, I think I see 3 women in your group.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what is the normal makeup? It seems like
Yeah, it's-
stereotypically it's more of a men's.
It's getting more and more, we're getting more and more females. This year, we're going to be graduating 3 females out of a group of 15. Then we have first-year students. I think I have 5 out of about 20. So, yeah, that's about the ratio that we've been experiencing for quite a bit. But we're really trying to get those females interested, and I think we're going to try and do that at a very, very much younger age, hopefully middle school as well as high school.
And you said you have about 25 in your, or 24, so what's the capacity for each of your programs? What, is that the most? Could you take more students?
We can take up to, I think our max is 28.
Okay.
Mine's 24, we've gone up to 30. Then we graduate, it's been averaging 12.
Okay.
They get through the 2 years and they really decide they want to do it. They don't get sucked up by the construction industry. It's a question we get asked all the time. What happened to everyone that started? Well, they pay really good out there. And sometimes they don't honor the value of education as much. And so they sometimes wander back, though, into the programs and finish up. So I have a variety of students kind of in different stages. The domino effect, we have classes that go in order. A lot of students transfer down from universities, find that that's not their thing. And then touching on the females, we have usually one lone graduate. There's a special place for the females in construction management, and it might not always be out on the job site, bossing people around. It might be more in the office or doing administration work, but it's definitely needed, and I feel honored to teach it and instill that.
Does SDSU have construction, is it construction engineering now, or what's their newer program?
It is construction management.
Management
It's
as
in
well.
the arts. It's not in the engineering programs
Okay.
at SDSU.
Has there been any students like from your
Oh,
program
yeah.
that, like maybe finish us, is the transferability pretty good?
We're working on the articulation right now.
No, awesome.
And it would probably be 3 more years.
Okay.
It's a good opportunity, though, for those students to move on if that's what they decide to do.
And their program, the 4-year degree, is more focused on office management, whereas our 2-year, we get their feet wet in a little bit of the CAD, a little bit of the surveying, on management, and on the job.
Yeah. Great. Any other questions?
I think you drive down any road in Sioux Falls and you see multiple building projects, so the job security and the job outlook for these students is wonderful locally. I mean, it's not like they have to leave Sioux Falls to go find a job, but if they wanted to, it's a very good job that you could find in many communities too, so.
And we are bringing a lot of students in from northwest Minnesota and northeast, or southwest Minnesota, northeast Iowa.
Sure.
Quite a bit.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you.
Thank you.
If I can collect these.
Yes. Yep. And can I get a motion to approve the academic review report?
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. On to the next report.
Great. President Parker and members of the school board, it is my honor and privilege as not only the foundation director of the Southeast Tech Foundation, but also an alumni, to talk to you about the Southeast Tech Foundation Capital Campaign. This is something that has been in conversation since I started with Southeast Tech 3 years ago, something that has I think been in talks, but really with the light of environment of change that we've been in for the last couple years and all of the very positive things that we've seen develop at Southeast Tech, but also the needs of our community, I think have really kind of rallied around to make this the right time to begin to propose or look at the idea of a capital campaign. With the passing of Amendment R, with the workforce need that we have, with a new president, and then next year being Southeast Tech's 50th anniversary, it really does seem like a wonderful time to do this endeavor. This will be the first time that Southeast Tech has done a capital campaign, so we're really breaking ground in a lot of ways, and I think this is just a good way to keep that momentum going. So to give you a little background on really this has been a topic of discussion for some time, but it really kind of came into serious conversation in the fall of 2016 when we were starting to look forward to that 50th anniversary and what are some plans and things that we can do in preparation for that. So that's really when the capital campaign came along. And then we began the RFP process where we did a lot of research to find out what are the best consultants that would assist us along this process. We identified out of that research 3 that we thought would be a good fit for Southeast Tech, and then we did an RFP with those 3. We ultimately decided on selecting NCDS. That's the National Community Development Service Organization. They are the capital campaign group that has been leading those campaigns for Ford and Sioux Falls. So they have a lot of great insight into our city, have already done a lot of wonderful demographic work as far as how our school impacts the community. So they seem to be the best position to assist us in the capital campaign process. While we were doing our research, we were also hosting sector breakfast events to really learn from our industry partners what it is that they need from Southeast Tech. What can we do better? What do we do well? And if there's anything that we're missing. And so those were valuable events to be hosting along the process of research and discovery through coming aboard the capital campaign. So this summer we did a feasibility study led by NCDS to really find out if, one, is a capital campaign feasible? It may sound like a good idea, but do we really have asking rights in the community to do this? So we entered into that feasibility study process this summer. We interviewed 50 partners. We interviewed people that were pro-Southeast Tech. We interviewed people that were con-Southeast Tech because we really wanted a good balance of information coming forward. And what we found was that there is great support for this endeavor and that we are in the right time to do this. So the foundation providing the results from the feasibility study approved going forward with the capital campaign knowing that there was additional layers that we need to get approval with to move forward on that capital campaign. So then we took it to the Southeast Tech Advisory Council, wanting their endorsement because we feel that it's very important that with the Southeast Tech Advisory Council being the advisory board of Southeast Tech, that our missions always be aligned, that we're always working together to make sure that we're going along the strategic plan that we laid out for the school, and that the work that the foundation does is always in line with the vision of the advisory council. And so when we brought it to them, we realized that it was, and they also endorsed the capital campaign, which is why we are here today. So they endorsed our coming to you to ask for approval of this capital campaign. So the objective of the campaign really is what we found in the feasibility study is what our industry partners want is they want Southeast Tech to do more outputs. You know, we have great facilities, we have really good programming, but they just need more, and they're willing to help us get to more. So the goal is to get to 3,000 students by 2022. So there is a 5-year plan of investment for the capital campaign, and I won't really touch on a lot of the details of the individual parts of this because they're still in draft form. They're being vetted with the industry partners that helped create this plan. But what it is it directly ties to the things that are going to affect our community and the things that we talk about all the time, which is increasing enrollment to impact workforce, to continue to work and reach out to and help an ever growing and diverse population that we have in our community, and then to help combat the ever rising cost of tuition through a robust scholarship and endowment program to give students the financial means to continue to come into education if that's the path that they choose. So the capital campaign will focus on all of those initiatives. So our ask to you today is that the school board approve the Southeast Tech Foundation to utilize reserve funds of Southeast Tech up to $350,000 to finance the capital campaign because the foundation itself does not have enough money in reserve to fund the capital campaign ourselves. A little background on the foundation. We've actively been fundraising for since 2006. So we're a relatively young foundation in the amount of years that we've been fundraising. However, we have some great milestones in the fact that we have $1 million worth of endowments, but all of those are semi-restricted funding in the fact that all of the money that comes into the foundation right now is, for the most part, going directly back out to benefit students. So that's why we don't have the capital and why we need to approach the Sioux Falls School Board to ask for those reserves funds from Southeast Tech to run the capital campaign. So our ask is that you provide us that resource to run an effective campaign, and that while we're doing the campaign, that we do have the full support of the school board in this endeavor. Any
Shelley.
questions?
Any questions for Shelley? We did talk about this at the work session last week, so most of us are, well, we're all familiar with the background behind the campaign and the financial ask. So anybody have any questions that have come up since then?
I applaud how you have already gauged your support in the community before going forward with this, just to kind of see how the success of this campaign will go. So.
Yeah. Because it's good timing, so. All right, I'm going to read this, and I'd ask for a motion when I'm done. A motion authorizing Southeast Technical Institute to enter into a contract with National Community Development Services, NCDS, to conduct a capital campaign on behalf of the Southeast Tech Foundation, and further authorizes the expenditure of up to $350,000 from Southeast Tech reserves for capital campaign-related costs and expenses.
So moved. Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Rich?
It'll take me longer to find the budget goals, so maybe I'll just talk about them. What I'm before you today is to establish our goals and timelines for developing the FY19 budget. And what's been presented is an executive summary that really lays the foundation about how it ties in with HLC and their requirements in engaging the campus community in developing that budget. A couple main takeaways from the goals and from the timelines. These are relatively the same as last year, but one of the goals I want to point out is, again, we're bringing forward as our goal is to develop a balanced budget, meaning our existing revenues will match our existing expenses. We're not going to be looking at any programmed use of reserves in that context other than what you've just approved here. But that's the intent of it, cover current operating expenses with revenue. On the timeline side of it, another piece that we're bringing into it this year is we're kind of in a position that we haven't found ourselves in for the last several years, which is a good position to be in when we're starting to see some upturn in our enrollment growth. So what we've experienced over the last several years as we've sat down to develop budgets is we found ourselves in kind of a position of contracting or belt-tightening to maintain our financial position and maintain our reserves. Coming into this fall semester, obviously, you've seen the reports and heard the reports that our enrollment's up roughly 6%. As we're fond of saying, one term does not a trend make, but we're seeing those indicators as we look at new students coming into the spring. We look at some of the credits at this point and compare them to where we were at last year, and all signs are pointing up in a positive direction. So the point of that is when we go in and start talking about the FY19 budget, I don't have to be the bad guy and talk about cuts and reductions and bring that discussion into the narrative. We really get to talk about what can we do in terms of some incremental growth types of things and some expansions resulting in some new initiatives. So when we talk about our timelines, one of the things we're looking to do is, and really ties in with HLC and campus engagement and involvement in that budget process, is really put those initiatives out there that people want to identify. What's important, what do we want to see and try to accomplish in FY19, and give the campus a voice in helping set those priorities. I've been doing budgets for about 20 years, and I'm pretty certain the request for what we want to do is still going to come in higher than the resources, but at least we're not cutting into existing programs. We're really looking at how do we line that in terms of those goals that we've set of having a balanced budget, those new initiatives, those new priorities of getting those to line up, and these are the main ones we want to look at. Second piece in trying to engage in this dialogue as we look at that is this has happened always, it happens every year of, well, if you had the money, what would you do? Or how would you spend that? I'm not so optimistic that's going to happen this year, coming out based on some of the initial reports of the legislature and understanding what the state can provide in funding, but we still have them. We have a record of them. And those initiatives, just because they're not funded in this FY19, really shouldn't go away. I mean, they can still come back. If it was a good idea for FY19, it might be a good idea for FY20. So that's what you're seeing different in our timelines. We're trying to create a mechanism, an avenue where a committee can get together, review those, allow those folks, whether it's a committee, it's a program, an individual that wants to come through with, hey, I've got this great initiative, I want to have a voice, I want it to be weighed against the other priorities that are out there. That's what we're doing this year that's different. So it's a little more engagement from the campus community. So overall, the timeline is relatively the same with the tentative adoption in April, final adoption in July. So that's the 5-minute summary of it.
I think you need to add one more thing to the timeline.
Yeah.
That after the amended the budget for increased tuition assistance after the tobacco tax passes.
Well, and yeah, because that's a distinct possibility that you're exactly right, that's not something we're going to
I'm
sit.
joking, but
No,
I would- yeah.
but you raise a good point, because it is something that we don't necessarily, we're not going to program. It's too, it's an unknown and it's outside of
Exactly.
our hands. But
If that passes in the FY18 election or in fall of 18, I'm making an assumption that that tax goes into effect January 1 of 19. That's the last half of our fiscal year. I know a lot of it's dedicated towards tuition reduction, which will change the way we look at that. Typically, you never do a negative appropriation. You don't go backwards. But I think the legislation and the way it's proposed also provides some additional resources for the technical institutes to do that. And that happens from time to time now, where we would come back with a supplement. We do it quite a bit with GO-ED funds when we get grants after the budget's been adopted. We bring in a supplement and say we've got this unanticipated revenue source. This is how we're going to spend it. So that'll be back before you, should that happen. So, but good point.
No, I was joking. I mean, I'm hopeful.
As am I. Thank you. Questions?
Any questions for Rich?
Well, it's kind of nice to sit here and have the good news be that the budget is looking good. I mean, we've all sat here, those of us that have been on this board for a while.
I might come in other than a black suit next time.
Well, yeah, I mean, with a white hat on
Yeah,
or something.
maybe.
Yeah,
It's not me that does it.
It's very nice to have the positive, the enrollment increases and the projected increase going into spring. It's just it's a really nice spot to be. So good work.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
All right, can I get a motion and second to approve the FY19 budget goals and timeline, please?
So move.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right.
Thank you.
And thanks, Rich. And on to the good news.
President Parker, members of the board, Jim Jacobson, Vice President of Academics. It's my privilege to share a couple pieces of good news with you this evening. I'd like to start with program expansion that we've just been able to announce on November 21st. We took a team to Huron for a press conference to announce our partnership with the Huron Regional Medical Center, the Huron Nursing Task Force, to offer our RN program in the Huron region starting fall 2018. A little bit of history for you. A little over a year ago, we were contacted by David Dick, the CEO at the Huron Regional Medical Center, and he asked if we would come up and visit with him about the possibility of looking at helping them address their nursing shortage. They have such a critical nursing shortage in that part of the state that they formed a Huron Regional Nursing Task Force to address the issue. And you really have to be impressed with what that community's done, because a lot of communities would sit around wringing their hands, and they have been proactive in addressing some very challenging issues. They wanted to know if we would consider or have the capability to bring our RN program to their region and to study the feasibility of what it would take to do that. Through several discussions with our team and their team, we proposed a model that was built on our successful Sanford cohort that we had developed a number of years ago when Sanford asked us to expand our LPN program for them. Couple key pieces with this model that we took away from the Sanford model. First and foremost is that the students, the RN students in the Huron area, are going to be sponsored by task force agencies. So that is, if Mr. Tolke was administrator at a nursing home, we're hoping that he sponsors one or two of his LPNs to come into this program to earn their RN degree. But then also, there's a commitment from that individual to work for a period of time, just built on the Build Dakota model and the Sanford model. The other thing is that it's a grow your own or an upskilling model. We know, living in South Dakota, that Sioux Falls is just booming. We're doing really well. Unfortunately, young people move to our part of the state, and they're not always real excited about moving to other parts of the state. And so David Dick, his group, very thoughtful in addressing that, in that let's see if we can take folks who have roots here in the Huron area and help them earn that RN degree. Students would be able to start their bridge classes. There's a series of 5 bridge classes that must be completed before you can be admitted into the RN program. They can start those in January. We've built a schedule for that. And then, as I said, they could start their nursing classes in the fall of 18. A couple key takeaways for me that I'd like to share with you is, I think first and foremost is Southeast is responding to an industry request. They've asked for help, and we've been able to help the state. Secondly, I think this program is going to allow us to create a footprint in a part of the state where we haven't had a real strong presence, and I think that's going to be a really good thing. You know, you all have participated in a number of press conferences in your roles as professionals, but also school board members. And you know that in Sioux Falls, attendance at a press conference is highly dependent on what's going on in the rest of the city. In Huron, the room was packed. It was standing room only. I shared with President Griggs that we may have had 200 people there for that press conference. It was a big event. So I also think that footprint in that part of the state is going to help with recruitment and enrollment for us. And then finally, the last takeaway for me is that I think this partnership and this program speaks to the strength of our nursing programs and our nursing team, and that, think about this for a second, Huron approached Southeast Tech out of all the nursing schools in the state to help them address their workforce needs. So I think we should be very proud of our nursing programs, our nursing faculty. They've done a good job, and we're looking forward to moving this forward. Any questions on that program? Okay.
No.
Next, I'd like to quickly, on behalf of President Griggs and our administrative team, thank Shelley for all of her work with the foundation. President Griggs, I don't think, is in a place that he can talk right now very well, but
the drool might indicate.
Yeah, you know, be distracting. But thank you, Shelley, for your report and all that you've done to move the foundation forward. Shelley, if you don't know it, has also had a key role in our sector breakfasts. And let's quickly recognize her. Finally, we have one more report for you this evening, and that is that Jackie Danielson is going to give an update on enrollment. But as Jackie comes forward, I'd like to, on behalf of our Southeast Tech campus community, recognize Jackie. We have been without an admissions director for over a year. Jackie was asked to step in, serve as the interim admissions director, and we were all at the meeting where that was talked about, and she reluctantly agreed to do that. But she's done an outstanding job. She has held that team together, not only held them together, but allowed them to move forward with assistance from Russ Krieger. And this year's enrollment report, Rich's budget report reflect the work that Shelley has done. We had our admin team meeting this morning, and she has 3 days left as interim director, actually 2 after today. But Shelley, excuse me, I thank Shelley. Jackie, on behalf of our campus community, thank you for all you've done. Will you come give your enrollment report?
President Parker, members of the board, thanks for this opportunity to share some enrollment information with you. Spring semester enrollment is looking very, very good. Overall, we are up 10% from the state last year in head count for the spring semester. Credit hours for spring, we're at 21,616. What that means is we are up 6% from the state last year in credit hours for the spring semester. So overall, looking very good. For new students, specifically for the spring semester, we currently have 297 accepted. Comparing that to last year, I don't have where we were last year at this time for new students, but we had 275 last spring, new students at the end of the add drop period. So to already be at 297, and we still have a month to go before the spring semester here is excellent. Typically, December tends to be very high traffic, walk-ins, appointments in the admissions office with people stopping in and wanting to get started for January. So we expect that 297 to definitely increase in the next month. Going on to fall semester, also looking really good. We have 400 accepted students for the fall semester as of November 30th. So comparing that to last year, November 30th, we had 211. So, and also kind of looking at where we were last year at the end of December, we had 333. So we're even ahead of where we were last year in December right now. So looking good. Apps are looking good too. We're ahead in applications to where we were last year at this time too. We currently have 1,257 apps. Last year we had 978. So accepted students are up and applications and inquiries are up too. So reasons behind it, we have increased our communications with prospective students. We have student workers who are calling prospective students and leading campus tours. Our admissions staff is reaching out to prospective students, and our faculty too. And we're doing more visit days, and we've really pushed up those visit days to earlier in the school year too. And then with the momentum of last fall and those good numbers too, maybe it's a combination of everything to explain why these numbers are reflecting what they do. Also good news, Megan Fisher, our new Director of Admissions, will begin on Monday the 11th. So we're looking forward to her leadership, and the admissions team is really looking forward to what Megan can do to keep us moving forward. Any questions for me?
Way to take ownership as interim director. Really neat what you've done at Southeast Tech with admissions, so thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, can I get, I don't know if I need a motion for the good news report.
Oh, we should have
I'll
more.
make a motion to acknowledge the admission report.
Okay. All of the good news.
All the good news.
All the good news.
Yeah.
All right, I have a first.
Second.
And second, okay. Any further discussion?
Bob, did you want to come up and talk about? Okay.
I hope you have a driver. You have a Lyft driver waiting for you? Okay.
He's not talking.
All right, no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, get a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you.